نبدأ إن شاء الله. Let's begin. So a quick review of the vocabulary that you would have done, right? And I'm going to quickly هذا باب هذا مسجد هذا بيت هذا مسجد هذا باب هذا كتاب هذا قلم هذا مفتاح هذا مكتب. As I'm saying, you can say after me. هذا سرير هذا كرسي. So let's move on. As I said, quick revision. هذا طبيب هذا نجم هذا قميص هذا طالب student هذا رجل man هذا كلب هذا قط cat هذا حمار هذا حصان. Let me move on again. Those are some of the same vocabulary that came in the other book, the اللغة العربية لغير الناطقين بها, دروس اللغة العربية, the next text that we are doing. Okay. هذا جمل كامل هذا ديك هذا مدرس teacher هذا حجر stone هذا سكر sugar هذا منديل kerchief هذا إمام هذا تاجر هذا حليب, or you can say لبن, right? حليب لبن. So before you go on, there are some interrogatives that you would have done as well in asking questions. So like for instance, we can say ما هذا, what is this? And we use ma for items which are non-human. You'll say ما هذا, what is this? But when we are speaking about an individual, a person, you will say man هذا, who is this? And you reply like that. Okay, so that is the use of ma, the use of man. We also went through where we asked a question by applying the a or the hal, a or hal, in front of a statement. Like for instance, we are saying هذا حجر, this is a stone. But if we put a or we put hal in front of that, we will make it into a question. So we can say أهذا حجر, is this a stone? هل هذا تاجر, is this a merchant? So we are applying a or hal in front of the word, in front of the statement, and it becomes a question. What are those two things? I write it here again. A hamza, or we can use hal, right? And they are used to introduce questions. So hal hadha, hal dhalika, and we see what this statement is. Hal hadha mindilun? Naam, yes. Hal hadha um, tajirun, probably, but here he's an imam, so we can say la hadha imamun. So let's move on. So those are the vocabulary that we would have done so far. I just decided to go through those. Let's revise some of the grammar that we would have done for the first 2 weeks, right? But I'm going through this quickly. I'm not sticking with it, okay? We mentioned that Arabic language has two parts. What are the two parts? The first being that of Nahu, and the second being Sarf. So you have a Nahu, or grammar, and the second part is Sarf. We did the definition of Nahu. Nahu is the knowledge of such principles by which the conditions of variability and invariability of the vowels of the last letter or letters of an Arabic word can be recognized, as well as the grammatical structure in the sentences. So we identify that Nahu deals with laws, and where does the variability or the changes of a word take place? In the last letter or the last letters of Arabic word and sentences. So we identify that there are changes in vowels and so on. Waladun, waladan, waladin. What is causing these changes? The function the word plays in sentences. Here, waladun acts as the subject or the doer of the action. So if we say, for instance, a boy hit, who hit? A boy, we'll read the dhamma. Here, we have waladan, okay, we identify that there's a change. The place of the change is in the last letter. Why would we say waladan? Because it is the object or the receiver of the action. Here we are saying waladin, and waladin exit with kasra. Why is it taken kasra? Because we assume that it comes after a preposition. So these are examples of grammar. We understand the reason for changes which take place in the last letter, as we see here, dun, dan, din, or last letters that we see here. Una becomes ina, that becomes ina. So it's a different noun altogether, a different structure, different type of noun. And for that type of noun, you're going to have a different way of identifying when it is the subject, when it is the object, when it comes after a preposition. Una, ya muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. And how many letters are involved? You're talking about at least two. There's a change of vowel and there's a change of letters. So initially we mentioned that Nahu deals with the changing and the variability that is recognized in the last letter or letters. So when we learn the reason why these changes take place and you identify how to change it, this all pertains to the laws of grammar or Nahu. As I said, quick revision before we move on. Then we have Sarf, the second part of the language. We mentioned it deals with inflection, where we have a root, and that root now changes by adding to the front or the ending, okay, prefixes and suffixes to express different forms of number and gender and person. Okay, so let's look at some examples of that. So we had the word here, for instance, Muslimun. Muslim is a singular word, but when we add ani to it, Muslim, add ani, it becomes Muslimani. And what form it gets now? Dual. Dual meaning two. So there's a special form in Arabic for two by adding ani to it. Likewise, if we add una to the word and we get Muslimuna, it now becomes plural. So this is an example of sarf as applicable to nouns. Let's move on. Then we look at some sarf as applicable to verbs. We have a verb here, nasara, which means he helped. Now, normally when we look in the dictionary for verbs, we have to look for it in the pattern that expresses he. Okay, so we look for it in this form, nasara. If you try to look for it in other forms, you will not get it because it is we have to go back to the root then, and this is considered like the root for looking in the dictionary, and from this we get different derivatives of it. where we have the 3 letters and so on. Inshallah, we'll do those things afterwards. Just mention that to you all. So from Nasara, what did we add? We added ta with sakin. You get Nasarat. And it now becomes she. She helped. Likewise, if it is that we place a sukun on the row, the same 3 letters, that's the root like, and we apply a sukun on the 3rd letter with a fatha on the ta, and we get nasarta, we get the meaning of you, one man, you masculine singular. We take the same form, apply a kasra, nasarti, we get you feminine singular. We apply a dhamma, and we get nasartu, we give the meaning of I. We remove the ta, and we add a na, lengthen it, we get the meaning of we. And there are different forms. If we just apply the noon without the aleph and say nasarna, then that means they many women. You understand that? So it expresses again the need for proper pronunciation. So simple as this, a person can say nasarna, we helped. And if you did not read that na and left it short and say nasarna, short na, then it gives the meaning of they many women. So simple and easy, you can change meaning. So therefore we need to keep in mind, even when we are reading Quran, that we learn proper tajweed and learn how to recite and pronounce it properly, inshallah. Okay, so we're moving on. We mentioned about the different parts of speech in English. We touched on some of these: noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, conjunction, preposition, and interjection. But today, noun, name of a person, place, animal, or thing. And these are some nouns: dog, cat, horse, student, teacher, apple, Mary. Adverb, an adverb tells how often, how, when, where. It can describe a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. So we see in Arabic that the adverb, it can be used to modify a verb. He went quickly. Okay, he spoke loudly. That's an adverb. It modifies how he spoke. Or it can be used to modify an adjective. It is very hot. Hot is the adjective, very is the adjective, is the adverb. Or it can be used even for other adverbs as well. The boy ran very quickly. So you have very, that is modifying quickly. So it can be used to modify the verb, the adjective, or another adverb. What is the verb? A verb is a word or group of words that describes an action, experience. So we have realize, walk, see, look, sing, sit, listen. These are action words. An adjective describes a noun or pronoun. Red, tall, fat, long, short, blue, beautiful, sour, etc. They describe. A preposition, a preposition is used before a noun, pronoun, or gerund to show place, time, direction in a sentence. Example, he is at the table. The cat jumped in the basket. The man sat on the chair. And like that. So these are preposition. It shows the relation of one word to another word in a sentence. Then you have conjunction. Join words, conjunction, join words or groups of words in a sentence. Example, and. Jack and Jill went up the hill. We could have said Jack went up the hill, Jill went up the hill. But we put and we join these two words. Now because he ran down the hill, because he was tired. You can't walk down a hill if you're tired, right? Just run it down. So it could have been he ran down the hill. Sorry, yeah. What was the example I gave? He ran down the hill because he said, and there are two sentences. He ran down the hill, he was tired. So he joined both sentences with it. So these are some examples of conjunctions. Pronoun replaces a noun. Okay, replaces a thing. So you'll say he, she, they, them, or it. These are pronouns. Interjection expresses emotion. Example, bravo, hooray, yay. You understand? All of these are interjections. In Arabic, all those 8 parts of speech must be fitted into 3 Arabic parts of speech. They are called ism, harf, and fi'l. So ism, harf, and fi'l. Let's look at these further. We have the Arabic language has 3 parts of speech. We have fi'l, verb, noun, ism, and harf, particle. Now, these are some of the basic stuff, right? As I said last week, we touched on some of these. I'm just going to it. I'm not going to go through these things next week again. We'll get more into the language itself. You know, just given a little review of these because sometimes we miss out fundamental things, and then when these are being referred to afterwards, you know, it is it becomes strange to us. So these are 3 parts of speech that exist in the Arabic language: fi'l, the verb; ism, noun; and harf, particle. How many genders are there in the Arabic? Masculine and feminine. These are the 2 genders. We don't have no neuter gender. Okay. So we have, for instance, Waladun is a boy, Bintun is a girl, Najmun is star, Gurfatun is a room. Moving on. Arabic language has 3 numbers. What are they? Singular, that signifies one thing; dual, that signifies 2; and plural, that signifies more than 2. Okay, so Arabic has how many numbers? And when you speak about numbers, we're not speaking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 10, whatever. It recognizes amounts. And what are the grammatical connection to that? So if a thing is singular, it is one, we will of course refer to the singular form for it. If it deals with 2 and signifies 2, or in reference of 2, then we'll say it is dual. And something that is more than 2 will be considered as plural. Just a note, English has only 2 numbers, singular and plural. Let's move on. This is where perhaps a lot of people would become a bit mixed up when you're speaking about persons in Arabic language. So let's go through this. The Arabic language has 3 persons. Now, when you're speaking about persons, it is really in reference as a quick thing for us, who we are referring to, especially when we are using pronouns. Okay, so persons and grammar refers to the category of person identified in the relationship between a subject and its verb. It shows whether the subject is speaking about itself. So if the subject is speaking about itself, what pronouns would we be using? If he is only referring to himself, you will say I. So that's the first person. If it is that he is referring to a group, like so he is representing his Jamaat, and he's going to meet somebody and say, you know, the Jamaat, he can say we would like that such and such and such. You understand? So I is singular, we is plural. It is used in context of the first person. Then, if the first person is addressing a second person, what pronouns would he use for that person? Usually he will say you. Right? So when a person say you, it means that there is a first person who is addressing the you. Okay, so the first person speaks to a second person with the pronoun you. So in Arabic, you have you, masculine, feminine, singular, dual, and plural. So really you're going to have 6 forms of you. If you're addressing a male, one person will say you, singular, masculine. If you are speaking to 2 males, you will say you, the same English, you, but it will be referring to 2 males. Plural, the same you, and English, we have you being used in one form that expresses all 6. Okay, you, singular, masculine, dual, plural, as well as you, singular feminine, dual feminine, plural feminine. Suppose now the first person I'm speaking to the second person you about a third person. What are the pronouns that I'll be using to refer to this third person? I will say, do you know that he is a good boy, or she has passed her exam? Or we can refer to a thing and say, I have informed you that it is on the table. Or we can speak about them. So this is the plural form, them or they. He, she, them, they, or it refers to the third person. So let's look at this again. If I am using the pronoun I or we, the first person, how many group involved? One. If I or we is speaking to a second group, the pronoun that I normally use will be you. Okay. If the first person addressing a second person about a third person, then the pronouns that will be used here will be he, she, it, them, or it. You understand? We cannot look at a person in the face and say, he gonna, you'll say you. Understand that? Now, along with the third person, it would be like people names, places, names of places, or items, and so on. Like for instance, instead of saying he, I can say, I have spoken to you about Zaid. I, first person, you, second person, Zaid is third person. Or we can say, we have written a letter to you concerning them. We, first person plural, you, second person, them, third person. Okay, so these are example of the different persons. A way to look at it can be like this. So the first person will be using the pronouns like I, we, me, us, my, mine, our, ours. The second person will be like you, yours. Okay. The third person, he, his, him, her, hers, she, it, and so on. And you have added to these here would be like the plurals, which is they. Okay. Let's look at something else again. First person, I, is speaking to you, like he's speaking to her. And here we have this guy is speaking to him about them. And he's saying what? Look, he, she, they, them, it, and you could even use names as well. So he is speaking to him. So he will say, I am speaking to you concerning Zaid, concerning Zainab, or concerning them. First person, second person, two people involved or two group involved in a conversation. And third person is where you have a third group involved in a conversation. Now that's a little grammar, and sometimes I say that these are basic primary school stuff. But even as adults, we sometimes forget these things, and it's a good reminder for us at the same time. Okay, moving on. How do we say my in Arabic? To express the meaning of my, which is the first person, because my refers to only one individual, right? A ya sakin is joined to the noun. The last letter of the noun will usually carry kasra, and the tanween is removed. So let's look at this further. Example, we have the word here, kitabun. Everyone say that? Kitabun. How do we say my book in Arabic? What did we mention in the last slide again? The last letter of the noun will carry a kasra, usually carry a kasra, and the tanween is removed. And with that kasra, now we add the ya sakin to it. So look at it. Kitabun. What happened to the last vowel? It takes a kasra. What did we add to it? The ya sakin. And we get kitabi, my book. I want you all to hold your pen in front of you and say, qalami. Qalamun is pen, and qalami. Rather, hold your book and say, kitabi hadha. Kitabi, this is my book. you referring to your house, you say, Hada baiti. This is my house. Hada baiti. This is my house. Someone asks you, what is your name? Masmuka or Masmuki. You will say, Ismi. Okay, you'll say, Ismi. Ismun is the name. Ismi, and you can say your name. Ismi Ibrahim. Ismi Fatima. Ismi, Zainab. Ismi Abdullah. So we use the ya sakin before which is a kasra to express my. And likewise, we can use this for any nouns, all of those nouns that you would have done before. So if you have a donkey, you can say hada himari. This is my donkey. Son, ibnun is son, or waladun can be used for son as well. We can say ismi waladi, my son. We can say ibni, my son. And as I told you, the word qalamun means a pen. So we can have qalami, my pen. So how do we say my in Arabic? We add a ya sakin to the noun. But before that, we remove the tanween and we apply a kasra to the word. Okay? So we have done some basic fundamental stuff there. Before I actually start the different types of sentences, let's do a quick revision. And how you're doing this is by doing a revision exercise, a lesson. You can write your answer, you can participate orally, all of that is in order. But these are simple stuff. So quick revision to lesson 1. Basically, we completed our first lesson, which deals with the fundamentals of the language. And I want you all to answer orally, or you can write down the answer. That is good as well. The Arabic language is divided into 2 main sections. What are they? Remember, we mentioned in the very beginning that there are two divisions of the language. What are these 2 divisions? So let's give the answer one time. The first being a nahu, that deals with grammar, and the second being a sarf, that deals with inflections. Okay, so grammar will tell us like what vowel and so on to use, what is the function of the word, is it a subject, object, comes after a preposition, is it an adverb, how do we apply the laws of adjectives, how do we use the possessive construction, that is grammar. Whilst inflection deals with taking a root, having prefixes and suffixes to it, addition to the beginning and the endings, little changes, vowel and so on, and the root remains with these additions, and we're going to get new meanings. Okay, second thing, how many parts of speech are there in Arabic language? We know the amount in English, there are 8 parts of speech. In Arabic, there are 3 parts of speech. First being ism, noun. Second, fi'l, verb. And third being harf, or ism, fi'l, and harf, all types of particles and so on. Continuing, what are the genders in Arabic language? What are the genders? How many genders do we have? Do we have 3, like in English? Masculine, feminine, and neuter gender? Or do we just have 2? Okay, the answer is 2. What are the 2 genders? Masculine and feminine. So words that are sort of, let's say, neutral would be attributed either as being masculine or feminine based upon the usage of the language. Of course, there will be hints to tell us that this word is a masculine word or this word is a feminine word. Right? And there are some words that have two genders. It can be used either side as well. So those are irregularities. Inshallah, we will come across those later down the road. There are three numbers in Arabic language. When you speak about numbers, what are you speaking about? You're speaking about amounts. So if it is one, how do we call it? Singular. If it is two, how do we call it? Dual. And if it is two and more, more than two, it will be considered as plural. How do you say my book in Arabic? What do we apply? Okay, first of all, what is the word for book? Kitabun. How then do we apply the meaning of my? First of all, we said we will add a ya with a sakin. Before that, we'll apply a kasra. So whatever vowel the word have, like tanween, whatever, dhamma, whatever, you remove that and we put a kasra for the word. Qalamun, qala, mi, and we lengthen. So we have different vocabs and so on. Inshallah, the vocabs that were done before, you need to go through those. Now we'll continue here, but we're getting into some grammar. The types of sentences. Before we continue this, I would like to just show you, for those who are following with the basic Arabic grammar, where we are, right? And we would have done some additional work. So I'm just going to open up something here, bring it across to you all, okay? We have the book Basic Arabic Grammar, that is this book here, right? It's available at the Darul Uloom. I want to assume Barak will have some as well. So basically, we have done the first lesson, which is really an introduction, lesson 1 and perhaps lesson 2. So you see the grammar has 2 sections. You have Nahu, you have Sarf, you have some basic examples. There's a quick review of the parts of speech. Okay. We also have here additionally some Arabic terms for the English parts of speech. Now, these are not the Arabic parts of speech. These are just translation of the 8 parts of speech that they are in English. How many parts of speech do we have in Arabic? 3, ism, fi'l, and harf. So we are actually going to start the 2 types of sentences now in Arabic. But I mean, I say when I'm doing this, I incorporate both of these together. So I want you all to follow on the slides, and you can also come back and refer to the text, inshallah, for additional information, learning how to spell and apply them and so on correctly. Okay, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use my slides. So there are 2 types of sentences in the Arabic language. What are these 2 types of sentences? Jumlatun ismiya. Jumlatun ismiyatun, it is a nominal sentence. What is a nominal sentence? If you look at the word nominal, you really get a noun from that. Nominal, it starts with a noun or a pronoun. A nominal sentence starts with a noun or a pronoun. And the second type of sentence in Arabic is known as jumlatun fi'liyatun. Jumlatun fi'liyatun, a verbal sentence. So it is verbal. How can you recognize the verbal sentence? Starts with a verb. So let's look at this page. Let's digest some of these stuffs. Jumlatun ismiyatun. Everyone say that. Jumlatun ismiyatun. It is a nominal sentence. It is a sentence that starts with a noun or pronoun. And then we have jumlatun fi'liyatun, verbal sentence. A sentence that starts with a verb. Now, when we are determining whether a sentence starts with a noun or a pronoun, or whether it starts with a verb, we cannot just look at what the English sentence starts with. But we need to look beyond that, because most sentences in the English language will start with a noun. This is how the language is structured. You'll say, for instance, the boy is tall. But we also say the boy went to the mosque. You'll say the girl is beautiful. But you'll also say the girl cooked the food. Now in these two sentences, the word boy and the word girl have been used in the beginning of the sentences. So if we were to look at these sentences and determine whether it is a jumla ismiya or jumla fi'liya, whether it is nominal or verbal, and we look at the English sentence, then definitely we'll say, well, it starts with a noun. It's really supposed to be nominal. But that is not how we do it. The way we do it in the Arabic is that, first of all, we look at the sentence, the English sentence. So the first one was, the boy is big. Okay? Does it have is our arm in the sentence? Yes. So let's consider that to be a nominal sentence. Now we know that the is our arm in English is a copula. It helps make a sentence. And in English, they will consider that that sentence is a verbal sentence. However, and we have a subject and predicate and so on. However, for the Arabic determination of the type of sentence, we look and see, is there is our arm? So the boy is tall, is come in a sentence. We have this sentence being a nominal sentence. The girl is beautiful. There is coming in a sentence. Then that will be considered as a nominal sentence. Now, if we have is that is followed by a verb, like for instance, the boy is running. Now, because we have is followed by running, the sentence really is a present tense verb being applied. So because you have a verb following the is, then it will go towards verbal. All right. We can have the Muslims are successful. You have verbal nominal sentence. We can have the women are from the city. We have coming there as well. It will be considered as nominal. We have like we'll say, I am a student. I is a pronoun, but it has am coming in the sentence. It will be determined as a jumla ismiya, a nominal sentence. Now, with respect to the verbal sentence, we have there, the boy went to the mosque. Went is a verb. Even though it came after the noun in the English sentence, because there is the presence of the verb in the sentence itself, it will be considered as a verbal sentence in Arabic, and therefore we will start that sentence with the verb. So the boy went to the mosque. It will really be went the boy to the mosque, and we'll see how it is structured after. That's the reason why we say it starts with a verb. But we need to understand for ourselves from the English perspective what goes as a verbal and what goes as a nominal. Okay, so the second one we have what? The girl cooked the food. Do we have is our arm in that? No. So therefore it will be treated as a verbal sentence because the word cooked is a doing word. It's a verb. And as such, it will be reconstructed as a verbal sentence with the verb starting, and we'll say cooked the girl the food. So this is how the Arabic verbal sentence is structured. Okay, so let's recap here quickly. We said that in Arabic there are two types of sentences. The first one, jumlatun ismiyatun, which is a nominal sentence. A nominal sentence starts with a noun or a pronoun. And then we have the second type of sentence, which is known as jumlatun fi'liyatun, a verbal sentence. And we said this type of sentence starts with a verb. And as an important note, we consider how the Arabic sentence is structured, not how the English sentence is structured, because most sentences in English starts with a noun. So we look for is our arm in the sentence. If we have is our arm, then most likely it goes towards nominal. If after the is there is um a verb, right, then it will be nominal. If there's a verb after, then it will be a verbal sentence. So is walking, you know. Likewise, for the future tense, you may have will. Zaid will eat the food. Will comes eat. So therefore, will eat is really a verb, because you have the future tense. It would be a verbal sentence. However, if we consider that there is no is our arm, then we look for the verb walked, cooked, eat, hit, went, bite, fight. You understand? And when you have that, then the sentence will start with the verb. We'll say went Zaid to the mosque, cooked Fatima the food, bite the dog the man. What I mean? The man bite the dog, or the dog bite the man. Which one? If you have bite the dog the man, the dog bite the man. Okay. So let's move on here. Let's go a bit deeper into the actual nominal sentence and the structure it. We said the nominal sentence begins with a noun, a pronoun. What is a noun? Name of a person, place, animal, or thing, such as Zaid Fatima book. Pronoun is a word that replaces a noun, as he, him, she, her, it, they, them, etc. You're moving on again. We mentioned with respect to the nominal sentence, is our arm remains understood between the subject and the predicate. What is the subject and what is the predicate? Simple. You see what came before the is our arm is called the subject or the mubtada of the nominal sentence. So let me say that again. What came or what comes before the is our arm is considered to be mubtadaun. That is the Arabic term. Mubtada, everyone say that. Mubtada. And that is known as the subject of the nominal sentence. And what comes after the is our arm is called the khabar, or the predicate of the nominal sentence. So let's look at this again. We say that the parts of the nominal sentence are, considering the sentence goes from right to left, there is no is our arm that remains understood between the subject and the predicate. Therefore, you're going to have mubtada, the subject, it comes before the is our arm, and the khabar, the predicate, it comes after. So the sentence that I gave before, which was like, for instance, the boy is tall. What is the mubtada and what is the predicate? Of course, what came before the is? The boy. So that is the subject. What came after? Tall. So tall is the predicate. The girl is a student. What came before? The girl. So therefore the girl will be considered as the mubtada or the subject. Whilst student, it came after the is our arm, and that will be considered as the predicate or the khabar. Okay, so let's move on. And we're looking at some examples. Now, like every sentence structure or grammatical laws, we always try to keep harmony between different parts. And here, we are looking at agreement. Agreement as regarding gender. Now, we know what gender is, right? Gender refers to masculine and feminine. So, you see the blue and the pink, right? You know where you're going with that. Blue is masculine and pink is, is feminine. Let's look and see what the example is about. So we had the two parts of the sentence, the subject and the predicate. We mentioned that is and am remains understood between the sentences. What is the law? There must be agreement in gender between the mubtada and the khabar. Mubtada, subject, khabar, predicate. So I want everyone to say this. There must be agreement in gender, masculine and feminine, between the mubtada and the khabar. That's important to remember. That's the law. Let's look and see the application of it. So if we have a masculine subject, and for those who want to venture into learning the correct terms one time, the word for masculine is mudhakkar. Mudhakkar. Say that for me. Mudhakkar, the masculine. So if we have a masculine subject, we must have a masculine predicate. When we have this, we'll say that there's agreement of gender in the nominal sentence. And likewise, feminine is known as mu'annas. Say that. Mu'annas. Mu'annas. Feminine. So if we have a feminine mubtada or subject, then we will also need to have a feminine predicate that goes with it. Let's look and see some examples. Like for instance here, we have masculine now. So we're dealing with gender, but first of all, we are dealing with masculine. The normal structure, it goes from left to right, right to left. We have the subject known as mubtada, the predicate, the khabar, is and remains understood. What came before it is subject, what comes after is predicate. So we have the sentence here. Zaid is a boy. Zaid is a boy. Note the color coding. So Zaid is a subject, boy is a predicate, is remain understood. Now in Arabic, it's just simply put in Zaidun, Waladun. So let's analyze it as we go along. So we have Zaid, subject. Zaid is masculine. And then you have Waladun is the predicate, which is a boy. It is also masculine. So the question, is there agreement between the subject and the predicate? The answer is yes, because here we have a masculine subject with a masculine predicate, Zaidun Waladun. We cannot say Zaidun Bintun. If Zaid is a boy, we cannot say Zaidun Bintun. That's wrong, right? Because there is no agreement. And there are different structures, like for instance, in Arabic, you might have like the word doctor, for instance. If Zaid is a doctor, you'll say Zaidun Tabibun. We did this word already, right? Tabibun is a doctor. But if you want to say Fatima, we cannot say Fatima to Tabibun. We will have to convert that word Tabibun by making whatever additions to it so that it will become feminine. So we'll say Fatima Tabibatun and add a ta at the ending to make it feminine. Okay, let's move on. Likewise, you have a feminine structure here. Agreement must be between the subject and the predicate, mubtada and khabar. So the sentence that you're looking at is Fatima is a girl. Fatima tu bintun. Fatima tu bintun. Fatima is a girl. So therefore, in order for us to apply this, there must be agreement. Fatima is the subject, that's feminine. In order for agreement, you'd have bintun. Bintun is a girl. She's also feminine as well. So we have masculine and feminine agreement of gender between the mubtada and the khabar. Now, the nominal sentence, we need to consider what vowel are we going to apply to the ending of the word. And this is where we need to learn some laws again. So we know the two parts of the nominal sentence, right? Based upon what we just did. We have the mubtada, subject of the nominal sentence, khabar, predicate of the nominal sentence. And these two examples we did. Zaidun, Waladun. Zaid is a boy, is our arm remains understood. Fatima tu bintun. Fatima is a girl. There's agreement, masculine, feminine. But the laws of Nahu and grammar needs to be applied. And this here, we need to learn why are we going to apply, or what type of voweling are we going to apply on the ending of the word, because we learned that in Nahu, we apply the vowelings for the different functions of the sentence at the end of the word. Now in grammar, there are certain terms of reference that directs us to what vowel is going to take. So this is a law that we need to learn. The law is the mubtada exists in the case of rafa. Say that from here. The subject of the nominal sentence, subject of the nominal sentence exists in a case of rafa. And the vowel that is usually associated is a dhamma. Likewise, the predicate of a nominal sentence exists in the case of rafa, and the vowel that it usually takes will be dhamma. So now I can say, do you know why we have dhamma here? You have learned it. We can say because this word zaid. Zaid is the subject of a nominal sentence, and the law for the subject of a nominal sentence is that it exists in the case of rafa. And the law is that rafa will take dhamma. So now you have learned grammar. Now you don't have to go through this process every time you have to do this. It's just a process that we learn, but we understand the reason we are learning nahu or grammar in this sense. Likewise, a person asks, why can't we say Fatima to Bintan or Fatima to Bintan? Apply a fatwa. You say, no, that's wrong. And the reason why it is wrong is because Bintun comes after the understood is our arm, and as such, Bintun is the khabar, the predicate of a nominal sentence. Being the predicate of a nominal sentence, the law is that predicate exists in the case of rafa. And the law for rafa is that it usually takes dhamma. So now I will say bintun. What do we say in Surah Al-Ikhlas? Kul, say, O Muhammad, who Allah, who? He is Allah. So if you want to put huwa, Allah, who? He is Allah. Allahu. What vowel are we taking there? Dhamma. So therefore that is actually the khabar. Huwa is really a pronoun, and you would learn that pronouns will not change their vowel to suit the change of case. So keep that in mind. I'm going to touch on that probably next week, inshallah. Let's read here. The ending vowels for both the mubtada and khabar, subject and predicate, will usually exist with dhamma, either single or double vowels. So you can have like a single vowel and you have the double vowel. Now we cannot just decide what we want. Fatima is used with a single vowel, so we have to maintain that. There are laws that pertain to that. And Zaid is used with a double vowel. We'll use it like that, right? When we reach those laws, we'll have a better understanding why Fatima only have one vowel. And there are other words like that. Zainab, Amina, Amina too. You know, these words would have a single vowel. Makkatu, Umaru. So it's not feminine alone, it's masculine as well. And why it is that we have a single vowel? Let's take time, let's creep first before we could run and walk. So here at this point, let's understand that it will take a it will take dhamma, that is. And this is the law here. They both, that is, the mubtada and the khabar, exist in a grammatical case called rafa. Rafa, right? Rafa tells us that it will usually take dhamma. So that is basically what I intended for the first part of this, which is the grammar. So we have done nominal sentences. So before we leave, okay, just to introduce you all to numbers, and we'll just go through it 1 or 2 times. In a few times, if we were to apply this in a few weeks' time, it will come on our tongue, and we'll be able to learn it as well. So the word in Arabic for one is wahidun. Say that, everyone. Wahidun. Wahid. Wahidun. One. And this is how it is written in Arabic. One. Similar to what we write in English. One. Wahid. Secondly, two in Arabic is known as ithnani. Ithnani. Say that, everyone. Ithnani. So you're probably not seeing all the vowels here. Remember, Arabic is not really written with vowels, because after a while, people becomes, your grammar that you just apply it. So it is if, nani, which means two. This is how it is written. You start, just as a two, if you have to write a two in English, what do you say? You start from and we go towards the right. Here, if we were to take this 2 and turn it upside down, it becomes like this. You understand that? If this were to be turned in a direction this way, if you turn it, it looks like this. Isn't it the same thing? Because numbers originated from Arabic. So therefore, they have borrowed our number system. So we have the number 2 being written like this. So it's a simple way to remember. Then we have the letter 3. Again, we have the letter 3 written like this. Let's put a little extension of it. And then turn it like what we did. What it becomes? Like this. Right at 3 and then downwards. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So everyone, واحد 1, اثنان 2, and the word for 3 is ثلاثة. So everybody, ثلاثة. Again, ثلاثة. Again, واحد اثنان ثلاثة. The word أربعة is 4. أربعة. أربعة. Say after me. أربعة. This is understood to be a tanween here. Likewise, we have ثلاثة there. So say for me. ثلاثة أربعة. Then number 5 is خمسة. 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 Again, this is understood to be tanween at the end there as well. To write the 4, you start at the top, come this way, and then like that. Okay, simple. Just erase that. All right, you know what I'm talking about, so maybe I'll get into that, inshallah. Bas. All right, so you back here again, you have arba'atun, and then you have khamsatun. Khamsatun is 5. This is written in this manner. Okay, it's written. Somebody playing with the anecdote, please avoid doing that. Right, so we have the letter 5. So say after me, everyone. Wahidun, ithnani, thalathatun, arba'atun, khamsatun. 1 to 5. So I want to introduce you all to lesson 3 and allow you all to learn some of the vocabs there in that book. I know I'm a few minutes over time. Allow me just a few minutes to just go through this with you all. So we're in the lesson 3 of the دروس اللغة العربية. الدرس الثالث. Notice the word ثالث is here. This originates from ثلاثة. Right? So we have these words here, and the new lesson really introduces something. We have baytun, al-baytu. Al means the. So we have baytun, al-baytu. So here you have al being used, right? Baytun, a house. When you put al with the word, it becomes the house. Kitabun, a book. Al-kitabu, the book. This is a new word that you all will be seeing. Maksurun, take note of it. It means broken. Al-qalamu maksurun. Maksurun, broken. Broken. You have here al-babu maftuhun. Maftuhun means open. Now we can recognize these sentences. This is a jumla ismiya, as what we just now did. Al-qalamu maksurun. Al-qalamu maksurun. The pen is broken. Al-qalamu maksurun. the pen is broken. Is understood at this point, right? So if you have to apply a is, it's going to be in between there. So al-qalamu is the mubtada, or the subject of the nominal sentence. Maksurun is the predicate of the nominal sentence. Okay, both the mubtada and the predicate will be in the case of rafa taking the vowel dhamma. This is the reason why we can say maksurun applying dhamma. This is the reason why we can apply the dhamma at qalamu. Okay, now I am not going into the law of al yet, but know that when we add al to a singular word, the tanween drops out. So this is one observation you can have. Instead of saying waladun, what did we do? We apply the al and it became al-waladu. We take out one of the vowel. So not dun, but rather do. Likewise, you'll see that here. Baitun become al-bay-tu. That becomes the case. Here, kitabun becomes, it becomes al-kitabu. Jamalun, what is jamal? Camel. Have al-jamalu. Qalamun becomes al-qalamu. So what did we observe? When al, which means the in Arabic, is applied to the noun, the tanween jumps out. And this is a law we probably should remember. Al, which is a definite article, it means the, and tanween will never coexist in the same word. You will not have a situation whereby you are going to see al kita bun. Would you ever see that? No, you will not have that, because al and tanween will never coexist in the same word. You'll remember that law. Don't make that mistake. That we put in al with a singular word, well, it could be singular or plural, doesn't matter, right? But they just put in al here and they're leaving the tanween. No, when al comes, which means the tanween runs away. They can't agree together. So therefore, that's a basic law. And here we have a few laws of the mubtada and the khabar and so on. I just want to the wrongs off here now. There, I want you all to review it. Next week, inshallah, we'll go through it in details. There are some words that you need to learn. Like, for instance, we have here the word baridun. You can see it, it's cold. Baridun is cold. Al-ma'u is water. Al-qamaru is moon. Now, all of these words are found at the end, right? It's at the end of the end of this passage, really. You can check it back. At the end of it, you'll find all the words written there. You can check it at the end of the passage. I don't want to delay you all a bit too much. And we'll go through that exercise next week. We'll start with this. And then we'll revise the nominal and go into the second type of sentences, which is called verbal. So as you come to the end of today's class, jazakumullah khair for your participation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all with the faham and the understanding and the ilm of Lughat al-Arabiyyah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us to learn. And inshallah, that it be a means of benefit for ourselves, for our family, and for the whole of mankind. Wa akhiru da'wa alhamdulillah bil alamin. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.